What is your stance on climate change? And do you believe that polluting the earth creates bad karma? Climate change, if we look back at history, two things happened. An ice age came, froze everything, and a warming up came, which melted the glaciers. It's our history. And both things have happened and both things will happen, no matter what. This is not human intervention that is creating these things. It's the law of the weather itself, climate itself, that this happens. And the same thing will happen. The question really in the minds of scientists is not whether we are warming up or we are cooling down to an ice age, but what will happen first. So going by the trends, they think that the warming up will go first, creating all the glaciers and ice blocks up there in the mountains, melting and destroying everything in the flooding. And then the flooding will not have enough heat and will lead to an ice age, and then the planetary heats outside, the sun's heats and so on will bring us up back. It's a cycle. This cycle we have gone through before, the same cycle will take place again. About karma. How do we create good and bad karma? We create karma, good or bad, with our intention to act. If our intention is good, then we create good karma. If our intention is bad, we create bad karma. And what determines good and bad? A little part of our mind reserved for advising us on good and bad. A moral conscience, and it's called conscience. We have a conscience in our head. How is it building up its database for good and bad? It's based upon the society around us, the people around us, the experiences of people in society around us. They lay down the rules. What is good, what is bad, and we are trained right from beginning to accept that, and we fill that conscience of ours with ideas of good and bad, and therefore we go through creating karma that is good and bad. If a person knows this is not good according to norms, moral laws, legal laws created outside of him, and he follows them, and he says, I am being good, it will be good karma created. He will be kind to people, moral code says that. He will follow the law. He will not go into red lights with his car. He will create good karma. If he does opposite of what the social data is, inside his conscience, he will create bad karma. This good and bad karma is very good actually. That to have good and bad karma is the secret of having a human life. If this was not there, supposing there was no karma at all, we could not be here as human beings. The designing of human life was made on the basis of a mixed good and bad karma. If human beings in particular life had only good karma, they would be another part of creation, which we call the heavens. There are plenty of heavens to populate all the good people in the astral plane. If all our karma was bad, we would be in another place called hell, also in the astral plane. There are places where we can spend time, both in pleasure or pain, depending upon good or bad karma. Only when we have a combination of these two that we come to the human form. That is why it's good to have high and low to be able to come here. And what's the advantage of coming here? The advantage is that you have the experience of free will, which you neither have in heaven nor in hell. The experience of free will, that means ignorance of the future, which is bliss. Ignorance is bliss in this case, that we don't know the future, we think we are making decisions, choice making is predetermined, but we can't see it is predetermined. Therefore, we get the experience of being seekers. That experience of being seekers is what leads us to the ultimate awakened state. That is why it's very important to have that experience of free will to become a seeker, and by becoming a seeker, find the ultimate truth and awaken to the highest level. Karma is created so that our presence here can be continued. You do good karma, you have to be rewarded. You do bad karma, you have to be punished. And punished in the same place where you did good or bad, or some peripheral area around that. What are the peripheral areas? Peripheral areas are the dream state. You might have committed a bad crime, but in this you have got some divine intervention. You pay off your karma, the reaction to the bad karma in your dream state. Or it can be astral plane. So you go through your karma, but most of it is in the physical plane. So that is why we get rewarded or punished depending upon the karma we created with our good or bad intention based upon what is affecting us from outside. So therefore, we cannot lay down a single rule for everybody, because not all the people think alike. What could be something bad in the society here could be good in another society. What could be bad here today could be good one time. What could be bad then is good now. These things keep on changing. So the triggers for karma, good or bad, keep on changing. But we create it according to what is prevalent at that time. And that is how we come back again and again. And this is a trick also. The karma is also a trap and a trick to keep us here. You can do all the good things in the world. Help everybody. Be very generous. Do a lot of worship and prayer. Prayer to get things of this world, mostly. But you can also do good to people and get very good karma and spend time in heavens. And then come back again after it's over. It doesn't get you out. The karma is something that's holding us back here. And at the same time, it's giving us the opportunity to escape from here by giving a human life. So it's a very tight kind of system that's been created. And it is not easy to understand karma. There is a song which the followers of Krishna, Lord Krishna, who was considered to be an incarnation of Vishnu, one of the gods of sustenance, who was considered to be a god figure in human form long, long time ago. As a historical figure, we consider he was a little boy who was born like a little ordinary person, but very clever as a small child. And he was like anybody else, like children. He told lies. He played with other kids like other kids. He was very fond of butter. And he would come and steal the butter. He was getting fat. There was no otherwise general obesity in those days. But Krishna was an exception, so his mother tried to hide the butter. She used to keep the butter in a little basket type of pan and put it and hang it high up so he couldn't reach there. But he would bring all the boys and they would climb one on top of each other. He would go, steal the butter, eat it as much as he can and run away. There is a story of how he ate that butter and came and the butter was all on his face and tried to eat quickly. And his mother said, "Are you again eating butter?" And he says, "No, Mama, I ate no butter at all." And this particular statement I'm making is made into a song, a devotional song people sing. That, "Oh, mother, I did not eat any butter," and the butter is all on her face. And the mother laughs. Just because we like Krishna and his teachings. We like Krishna, he gave the best teachings on the battlefield to his boss, Prince Arjun, whose chauffeur he was, who was hired by Arjun as a chauffeur to drive his chariot. And between cousins, a big war was going on. And both the armies are on both sides ready to fight. And Krishna turns to his boss and says, "Arjun, I want to tell you something. Fight with passion, fight this." He says, "I can see my own uncles, I can see my own relatives, how can I fight?" He says, "This fight has already taken place. It's just a replay of the fight." And he even opened his mouth wide and showed all of them dead. and he performed miracles like that. So Krishna became very popular as a very enlightened person who enlightened so many people. But as a child, he had a childhood friend whose name was Udo. And Udo and Krishna were both cowherds. They took care of the cows of the village. They would just go in the fields while they were grazing the cows. They were playing tricks. And Krishna played more tricks than Udo. He teased the girls a lot, and who were called gopis. They loved him because of his extraordinary powers, his extraordinary attractive face, and he played the flute, the music very beautifully. But he teased them. And it is recorded in devotional way how he used to hide their clothes when they were taking a bath in the pond, and he wouldn't bring the clothes back. Things like that. A very naughty guy. You have to accept that. Yet, he tells, even as a child, he tells his friend Udo, they're both out in the fields, the cows are grazing. He says, Udo, karma is a very difficult thing to say. Karman ki gat nyari se. It is very difficult to explain what karma is. People just take it like doing good or bad things. No, now watch. And he points to an ant crawling on the ground. He says, Udo, look at this little ant, such a small little insect crawling. This ant has been once Brahma, the creator of this universe. Has once in a previous life been Indra, head of one of the heavens. Today, because of karma, in spite of those experiences, into infinite time, he's back as an ant. Karma is no easy thing to explain. Karma cannot be atoned. You do bad thing, you say, I'll now do good things all my life to make up for it. You'll be punished for the bad and rewarded for the good. Karma is such a relentless thing. And karma is what creating the biggest trap for us and keeping us here. So that is why we should understand this karma is not a very simple thing. It's the basis of our creation here. It's the basis of our human life here. It's the basis on which we are acting and reacting with people. It's the basis on which we are becoming seekers, getting out of here. So, whether climate change is a massive karma or not, it depends on how we are going to handle climate change. I suggest to the people who can handle it, do it with a good intention and create some good karma and have a little trip to heaven.